What's happening YouTube? Suraj here, and I've been using the Fujifilm X-T4 for the last 3 to 4 days. I initially borrowed it from Fujifilm for a different project that I'm currently working on, but that got pushed because of you know why. So instead I figured while I still have the camera with me, why not test it out and talk about it on the channel. Now obviously it's not exactly safe for me to go out right now, so there won't be that many outdoor samples in this video. Instead, what I've decided to do is I want to do this in a Q&A style of format. So I asked you guys on Instagram to send me questions about the X-T4 that you would like answered, and you guys did. Thank you very much for that. So I'm going to be answering them and sharing any additional experience that I've had in my limited time with this camera. As I said, I did borrow this camera from Fujifilm, but I'm not expected to say anything specific. In fact, I don't even think they're expecting this video. I initially borrowed it, as I said, for a different purpose, for a project that was supposed to happen but is currently on hold. So yeah, without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it. Is it a comfortable design? How much technical sacrifice does the camera make for the retro look? It's actually a great question because when I first picked up the X-T4, I was kind of disappointed by its ergonomics. The grip is very thin and I have huge hands, so that doesn't really go well together. It's not the type of camera you would use with a single hand, at least not for a long period of time. However, a couple of days into shooting with it, I quickly got used to it. My hands are automatically now adjusted to its ergonomics. My right hand will go on the grip and my left would go under the lens or under the camera body. That way it's a pretty comfortable experience. It's not a one-handed camera, but with two hands I don't see any issues even shooting long hours with it. Speaking of the retro look, I don't think there's any trade-offs that come as a result of that design choice. If anything, it's quite the opposite. The dials are not just present for aesthetic value, they do actually help out from a functionality standpoint. I did go out a couple of times for essentials, and while I was not out for very long, I did take my camera with me to grab some photos. And during that time, I actually found the dials very useful. Initially, I was fighting against it, and so I found it very frustrating and it was not making sense to me. But once I figured out how they work and everything, it was actually a very seamless experience. It made things so much quicker. So I don't think there's any major trade-offs that come as a result of the design. The dials are functional. They're also there for aesthetic value. They do look pretty great, but they are also useful. Talk about in-body image stabilization. IBIS on this thing is great. I'm coming from a camera that does not have any kind of internal stabilization, so compared to that, this is huge. Now there are a couple of settings in the camera which you can play around with, and I highly recommend doing that to see what is the best, kind of setting for your use case scenario. There's a setting called the IS boost, and turning that on basically turns the X-T4 into a tripod. I did a 5-minute long talking head with a 50mm lens while hand holding the camera. I did not put it on a tripod or anything like that, and it looks just like a tripod. There's no major micro jitters or any kind of jerky movements. It is totally usable. However, I don't think the IBIS is a replacement for a gimbal. It's fine for vlogging, but if you want like super lengthy follow, like smooth shots, I would still kind of resort to a gimbal. IBIS is just for the type of situations where you want to grab a quick video. I often find myself in situations where the lighting and composition of something is really nice and I want to grab a quick video, but on my Sony I can't do that because it does not have any in-body image stabilization, but with the X-T4 that is totally possible. Talk about the video capabilities. So the X-T4 can do up to 4K at 60 frames per second and up to 240 frames per second at full HD. Right now we are shooting at 4K, UHD 4K, not DCI 4K. We're shooting in F-Log in the H.265 codec, so we are doing 10-bit 420 internally, and I'm using long GOP for the compression. This is what the footage looks like ungraded, and here's what it looks like with the free eternal art that Fujifilm provides, and here's what it looks like with my grade applied on top. Honestly, I think there's a lot of good frame rate and resolution options on the X-T4. I'm not too worried about the lack of 4K 120. I think 4K 60 is more than sufficient. What I was really interested in is finding out the difference between 10-bit and 8-bit, if it really is that big of a difference, because I would often find myself in a situation with my Sony camera, which only shoots 8-bit, where I need to push the color just a little bit more, but I would not be able to do it, and I assumed that that was because of 8-bit. And after doing some tests, turns out it was true. The average person won't exactly be able to tell by looking at the final output whether a footage is 8-bit or 10-bit. I don't think anybody can, but where it really helps is in the grading process. 10-bit does help out quite a bit in comparison to 8-bit. I did some tests against the Sony a6300, which you guys all know about. That shoots only 8-bit. Compared to that, I was able to push the color quite a bit more. Not like day and night difference, but definitely a noticeable difference, definitely a difference that would help with color grading. So nobody really asked me about film simulations, so I just signed into my second Instagram account and sent myself this question, because honestly I think the film simulations are worth talking about. I've talked about them in the past. The last time I did a Fujifilm video, which was the X-T30 video. I am somebody that likes to have complete control over my images, so I would still end up editing them in most cases anyway. However, I do think that the simulations on this are great. If you want to just quickly click a picture of somebody and send it to them right away without having to worry about editing, it's great. It's a great Instagram workflow actually. The JPEGs are not very big, but they're still very high quality. The colors are really pleasing. I honestly think the film simulations are great. There are so many of them, I couldn't even get to try them all, but my favorites would probably have to be classic, negative, and across. Those I think are really, really cool. But that's not even the best part. The best part is the fact that the film simulations even work in movie mode. This is great for if you don't know how to color grade properly, or if you simply don't want to deal with it. You can totally pass off as a pro colorist using just the inbuilt film simulations. They're honestly better than any other inbuilt picture profiles, so to speak, that I've seen on any other camera brand. Have you switched? Well, short answer, no, not yet, but I am going to once I can safely go out and purchase a camera. Long answer, I have been looking for a new camera for some time now. As you guys know, I've been using the Sony a6300 for 3-4 years now. I've covered it so much on the channel, it's almost become a cringy topic, and I feel like I've exhausted it. And I've been looking for a new camera, which I'm mainly looking for 3 or 4 things in it. 4 things. Firstly, it has to be a hybrid camera. I need it to be able to do both photo and video. Second, it has to have internal 10-bit recording. Third, it must have in-body image stabilization. And 4, it must have a flip screen. The X-T4 checks all those boxes. Initially, I wanted to go full frame and probably get the A7S III, but after having used the X-T4, I think this is the one for me. The overall package is much smaller, and the way I see it, for the price of the body of a Sony A7S III, I can not only purchase the X-T4 and a couple of lenses, I can buy even a monitor and also kind of buy a few pieces for a rig which I want to build out. So that way I think it makes a lot more sense. I would much rather lean towards a complete package than just getting a body for the same price. If I can get a whole package, I think that makes a lot more sense. So yeah, that's been my experience with the X-T4. Too bad I can't go out and make images with it. I really would have loved to, but obviously, as I said, once I get my own, there will be a lot more content about the X-T4. Stay tuned for that. If you found this video of value, give this video a thumbs up. If you did not, vote it down. Let me know in the comments why I didn't like it. If you're new around here, my name is Suraj. On this channel, I talk about my creative journey. Sometimes that means videos about gear like this one. Other times it is technique or knowledge based. So if you're interested in any of that, consider hitting the subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell icon while you're at it. If you want to reach out to me personally, you can message me on Instagram DM or send me a super text on my super page. All links are in the description. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Suraj, and I'll talk to you in the next one.
Let it slip away, left but then you came. All the same, nothing left the game. Show 'em we don't play. It depends how you celebrate. Kinda say complain with your ways. How you slipping while you still